from the use of this building. It has served the congregation and predominantly the Boy Scout Troop 138 as a meeting hall, storage building, and restroom facility. But it is served with no name. It has been called the Troop Hut, the Scout Hut, the Boy Scout Building, and sometimes just the building in the north parking lot. But finally, the elders of this church have decided to give this structure a name to honor two members of our congregation who have been most instrumental in our scouting ministry and who have blessed our congregation for so many years. Our congregation has sponsored two programs of the Boy Scouts of America, now known as Scouting America, for half a century or more. Boy Scout Troop 138 has served boys ages 11 to 18 for the longest of that time. And Venturing Crew 138 has served high school and college age boys and girls ages 14 to 21 for over 20 years. These programs and the adults who lead them have touched the lives of many, many boys and girls who have become good and successful men and women. So we are here today to recognize and honor two members of our congregation who have been instrumental in our church's scouting ministry. The building was originally funded and constructed due to the efforts of Dr. William Hooper. Dr. Hooper served as the music director. He also served as Scoutmaster of Boy Scout Troop 138. Dr. Hooper's dedication to scouting and his work for our congregation was shown by his love for us and for God. Stephen Leake has also served as Scoutmaster of Boy Scout Troop 138, as well as the founding advisor of Venturing Crew 138. Stephen Leake has served this congregation tirelessly as an elder and a deacon. Mr. Leake served the youth and adults in scouting through Circle 10 Council as a trainer, a mentor, and a benefactor. In the book of James, who was the half-brother of our Lord Jesus, became pastor of the church in Jerusalem. We read in chapter 1 of James, verse 12, "Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those who love him." Certainly both of these men, Dr. Hooper and Stephen Leake, knew all too well that working with children can be a trial, but both persevered and became examples to many young people for how they too may love the Lord and bless others with their service. I would like to offer one more quote from the book of James, again in chapter 1, verse 17. "Every good and perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of the heavenly host, who does not change like shifting shadows." Dr. William Hooper and Stephen Leake have been gifts from above for our congregation and for our scouting ministry. So it is fitting that we give this building the name of Hooper-Leake Hall in honor of these two Presbyterians who have given this church so much for so many years. Now I would like to invite the children of the Hooper and Leake families to come up, and I'm going to ask John Hooper to please come up and say a few words about your dad, and then I will ask Sarah and Andy to come up and talk about yours. Thank you.
So I'm not a public speaker, so get ready. I want to introduce, this is Terry Anderson. Hey, as-built. We built this house. We helped build. So it means a lot to us, and we remember it. So I was 11 years old when we started on this, 11. And we finished in 1965. No, we finished in 2023. No. we finished in 1965. And from my eyes, as an 11-year-old, I saw my dad as a dynamo, this force that always surprised our whole family. And what I mean by that, we never knew what he was going to do next. He was just full of energy all the time. It was either an add-on to the house at home, working on a PhD, Kiwanis Club. We had a circus in our backyard. It was amazing. And he built another diorama miniature circus to scale. We added on another room at the house. So he had all kinds of hobbies. And he did psychedelic light shows in the 60s for like Fats Domino and a lot of big artists like that. So he was always on the go. We never knew what was going to happen next. And I figured out he was just a big kid. That's all he was. He just couldn't stand still. Anyway, he had so many interests and hobbies. He loved life more than anybody I've ever known. He was very interesting, and he was nothing without the patience. My mom. Yeah. She's equally a part of his story. Like I said, the Scout House was built in 1964 and dedicated in 65 without a name. As far as I know, my dad was the committee chairman for the building and meeting place for Troop 138. We used to meet in the church, along with Mr. Adams, Mr. Newman, Mr. Asbill, and other fathers of the Scouts. And I'm sorry if I'm leaving anybody out, but I was just 11. I didn't pay much attention to all that kind of stuff. So anyway, my dad was, like mentioned before, my dad was also the band director at Mesquite High School, choir director at this church, and even at a young age, I saw how he empowered people and students. He delegated his responsibilities and taught them to help and support each other, and always encourages self-worth and pride in a job well done. I think one of the main reasons, not the only reason this house was built, is because the members of the troop could earn merit badges and learn skills that might later help them in the future and in life. And this is my merit badge. And a lot of these merit badges are from building this house. So, and some of us received God and Country, like Steve told me, at the church. 4 of us, how many?
5 of us on Scout Sunday in 1965, when this building was dedicated. Yeah.
Right, fantastic. So anyway,
and I see your Eagle medal.
yes, I'm an Eagle Scout. Yes,
Yes, you are.
and I'm very proud of that. So Steve sent me a church bulletin dated February 28th that shows of 1964. Shows how many people were involved with this building. In the bulletin, it showed all of the Mesquite community that had helped out on this project. Electricians, plumbers, tile companies, lumber companies, and donations from many Mesquite trade services. And many donors from First Presbyterian Church. It really does take a village. I'm so glad I had the opportunity to be a part of this building and learn so much from our leaders. I especially want to thank First Presbyterian Church for the guidance and support for Troop 138 and for all the years and great leadership and great memories. We're very grateful. Thank you. Thank you very much. And Terry wants to say something, some of his memories. This is going to be good.
I'm not for sure about how good that is, but I will tell you that and the Reverend talked about this morning in his message about the importance of the foundation and the foundation that gets you where we are today, which made me a much better person. I look at Steve sitting here, and the Leake family and the Hooper family were instrumental in a lot of us that grew up in the neighborhood. And it takes people like that. Steve was a mentor a long time before he ever knew it. We wouldn't have gave him credit for it back then, but that's okay. But he really, truly was. And Dr. Hooper, I could go on and on. I can remember 18-wheelers sitting here, and we would do paper drives and pick up phone books. Most of you gentlemen in the back don't even know what a phone book is. Or a paper drive. The phone books were about this thick, and we would pile them up in the back of the 18-wheeler, and we got paid so much for collecting and doing our neighborly duties and stuff. Well, and then we got to build this. this wonderful building that's amazing that it's still standing, that it's useful for all of you gentlemen that do the job that you do. I can remember mixing mortar right here where that white truck is with a pile of sand, mixing it up for Mr. Hooper, who could lay brick like you can't imagine. I might have laid 2, but we earned lots of merit badges through the process. One of the things about Dr. Hooper that I'll never forget, Clay and I were talking about, was earning our merit badge for hiking. We left here one Saturday morning, and Dr. Hooper had a canvas backpack. That's all we had back in those days. We had a canteen. It was a steel canteen and a canvas bag that we hooked onto our clip. Now you can imagine what I was like. I was about that tall and about that wide, and we went off hiking. We walked all the way almost to Forney, to Stuckey's out on Highway 8.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm thinking, somebody's gonna pick us up. We get out there and we take a break. Everybody's got a snack. I'm already out of water. And I'm going, when are they gonna pick us up? He goes, we gotta go back. I said, we gotta walk all the way back. We're earning that badge. And I said, okay. We didn't have cell phones, we didn't have Stanleys, we didn't have Yetis. I'm out of water. Well, of course, we made it back and we earned our merit badge. That's just one of the things that scouting has done for me. And there's things that I remember throughout my life that was vitally important from the time that I spent here with scouting, and all of the men, just like yourselves, that have done a great job mentoring these kids, just like this guy sitting here, look at. You know, you were a lot bigger mentor than you'll ever know in a lot of ways, just like your dad, that I admired greatly. I could talk all day, but I'm not. Thank y'all very much. Thanks for honoring these two families. These two families are vitally important to this community, and I'll never forget it. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
I'd like to ask Andrew and Sarah Leake to come forward and talk about your dad.
I wanted to say thank you first. Thank you for the invitation today to speak about my father, Steve. I'm very proud of the contributions that he's made to Scouting and Troop 138 over the last 35 years, and of the positive impact that he's had on so many young people's lives, including my own. Scouting was a big part of our family life from elementary school until the time we graduated. We were always going to an Eagle Scout ceremony, or a wood badge thing, or Scout Sunday, or Camporee, or a merit badge ceremony. We were always doing scouting. Even though I wasn't directly involved in scouting, I felt like it was a part of my life, and I knew from an early age that a scout was trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. My father embodies all of these qualities, and he modeled them for all of his scouts in Troop 138. He dedicated so much of himself and his time during the 1990s to the troop. I think anybody you ask will tell you that the 90s was a really great decade. It really was for Troop 138 as well. There are more Eagle Scouts during that decade than any other, a whopping 27. I am also very proud to say that almost half of those Eagle Scouts made Eagle while my dad was their Scoutmaster. He was awarded the Scoutmaster Award of Merit in 1992 and the District Award of Merit in 1996. In 1997, he was awarded the Silver Beaver Award. My dad made 16 trips total to Philmont Scout Ranch, we calculated, during the 1990s with both kids and grown-ups for treks, cavalcades, and training courses. He was very involved in adult leader training, which I believe impacted Troop 138 long-term. His great knowledge and love of scouting was obvious as it shone through in all the young people whose lives he touched. Zach Markovic, one of my dad's old scouts who sadly is no longer with us. I believe he saw and really understood my dad's love of scouting and love of his troop. Little backstory, Zach came to Troop 138 in the third and final year of my dad's tenure as Scoutmaster. Troop 138 had won the district camporee the fall of 91 and the spring of 92, but fall of 92, spring of 93, and fall of 93, they didn't win it, despite having one of the biggest and best troops in the district. The boys were getting older and not as interested in scouting, but the night before the 1994 spring camporee, little Zach Markovic stood up and said, "It's Mr. Leake's last camporee. We're gonna win it for him, and who's with me?" And by God, they won every single event, and the troop got the blue ribbon. And usually that ribbon would go on the troop's flag, but Zach said, "No, this ribbon is for Mr. Leake." And he still has that blue ribbon tucked away in all of his treasures and keepsakes. My dad had lots of help during his years in scouting from other dads and church family alike. Mr. Mike Orr, Greg Hobbs, Eddie Phillips, Mike James, Bob Willett, Dan Fricky, David Beal, Pat Smith, Roger Samuels, Tom Wilbanks, and Rob Schlegel all were active and important players in these boys' lives. I would also like to thank these men, as well as their wives, for their gifts of time and knowledge to Troop 138. People sometimes have asked me before if I ever felt jealous or sad that I wasn't part of the Boy Scout experience because I was a girl, but I have to say that I never really did, because I was part of the Steve Leake camping experience. From the time we were like 4 or 5 years old, my dad taught us everything we needed to know about the outdoors, how to start a fire, how to pick a good campsite, how to set up your tent in your kitchen, and always leaving the earth better than how you found it, and just general love and respect for nature and its flora and fauna. The Steve Leake camping experience for multiple years of my young and adult life was something that I will always be grateful for, because my dad always let me do the same things he was doing even though I was a girl. He still taught me how to do those same things, and I'm grateful that he always showed me how to do those things in the right way to do things. And it makes my heart happy that the Scouts of America are more inclusive now and do allow girls to have those same opportunities. But in closing, I just want to say how proud I am of my dad. The Scout Hut, like the church, was an integral part of us growing up in Mesquite, and I'm so proud and pleased that it's named after someone who gave so much of himself in service to his Scouts and our beloved Troop 138. Thank you very much.
About a month ago, we got a text message, family chat. It's actually a picture of this building sign. It said Hooper-Leake Hall. My wife showed it to my daughter. My daughter and son are in Cub Scouts right now. And my daughter said, "What is that?" And my wife Katie said, "This is the Scout Hut at the church, and they named it for Granddaddy." And then she said, "Why did they do that?" And Katie said, "Because a long time ago, Granddaddy was a scout leader, and he did a really good job." And I said, "Well, actually, Granddaddy was a scout master, which means he's in charge of like the whole troop other than a scout leader in a more broader sense of the term, which may be in charge of a specific aspect or a patrol. And at that point I realized nobody was listening anymore. And so I really could have said anything and I just stopped talking. But yes, she was right. He was a scout leader in the troop and did a really good job. But let me tell you a little bit of the backstory of how it came to be. When my dad was young and deciding what troop to join, he first tried Troop 138 in the 1960s. And he told me that when he went, it was a little disorganized. And most of the campouts, all they did was go out to a campsite, hang around the picnic tables, and eat hot dogs. So there were no real activities, and it wasn't very fun for him. So he tried another troop and found that they had better programs and were better organized. And he advanced all the way to Eagle Scout in that troop, which was 108. So fast forward to the 1990s, and I'm graduating Cub Scouts and deciding what troop I'm going to join. And we decided to visit Troop 138 again to start my Boy Scouts. And I'll tell you, Dad said the troop was a lot better than it was in the 60s. They had about 5 patrols and a good contingent of leaders, but they still didn't have a big emphasis on advancement or activities. They had a lot of scouts that would advance to the higher ranks like Star or Life Scout, but not quite yet get to Eagle. And they still went camping without any plans or activities. So when Dad got the opportunity to become the Scoutmaster, he changed all of that. He set some personal goals for himself to achieve with the Scouts in the troop. Dad wanted us to win a camporee event and was tired of not winning the blue ribbons in the events and losing out to his old troop, 108. And so he challenged the troop to work hard on developing their scout skills, fire building, orienteering, first aid, pioneering. And that following camporee, we won a ton of blue ribbons. We won the camporee event that year, and all of us sitting around the campfire listening to our troop's name being called over and over again, and finally as the champion, we just all exploded out of our seats and started yelling and screaming. It felt like we won the Super Bowl. And we wouldn't have had that feeling or experienced that big win had Dad not encouraged us to do it for ourselves. Dad also wanted more of the Scouts to advance to Eagle and take those final steps necessary to earn that rank. So he identified Scouts in the troop that had the greatest potential to finish their Eagle requirements and made it a point to work with them to finish those last steps, because he knew that sometimes all you need to finish what you start is someone to care about you, to show you the steps you need to take and encourage you and support you until you finally get it done. So even after I graduated and left the troop, Dad continued to work with Scouts in different capacities as a liaison between the church and the troop, and as a venture leader helping the Scouts develop their skills in horsemanship. So yeah, Dad was a Scout leader and he did a really good job in the troop, but he transformed the troop from one that would never win a camporee to one that consistently was a troop winning blue ribbons. And instead of a troop that never had any Eagle Scouts, to one that was constantly earning Eagle Scout ranks and taking crews to Philmont. More than that, he showed us the attainable goals and success that we could reach individually and as a troop, that there was no reason we couldn't or shouldn't get it done. He mapped it out step by step, everything we needed to do, and he encouraged us and supported us until we did it. But that doesn't just apply to scouting. He showed us the way to make ourselves successful in life, in any situation we find ourselves. To set a goal for what you want, figure out how to get there, and do the work to make it happen. So Dad, this honor given to you is well deserved. So on behalf of all the Scouts that ever taught, from Cubs to venturing crew, thank you for helping us earn our ranks and develop our skills, showing us the way to be prepared and do our best.
Before I close, I want to ask our senior minister, Jones Doughton, if he wanted to say a word or two.
That's an incredibly tough act to follow. I don't. I will not attempt to do so. It's simply to say, what strikes me, sermon's theme was a lot about gratitude today, and I've just had plenty of sermon examples right here. In fact, I just had y'all just speak. Y'all could have been my sermon today, and I would have taken the day off. It does show the importance of investing in individuals. There are different ways that we're called to do that, but again, just the importance of investing. And okay, it's popped in my head. And you know the old saying, give them the flowers while they're alive. They've given you flowers while you're alive. So.
Heck yeah.
Anyway, that's enough. Y'all,
Thank
this is
you.
awesome.
Thank you all today for coming. Please feel free to spend a few minutes and come and speak with the Leake family and the Hooper family. And now let us close with a prayer. Great Father in heaven, thank you for William Hooper and the Hooper family. Thank you for Stephen Leake and the Leake family. And thank you for Hooper-Leake Hall. As we leave today, help us remember the words of the author of the letter to the Hebrews. Now may our Lord Jesus Christ, that great shepherd of the sheep, make you perfect in every good work, doing that which is well-pleasing in his sight, and to whom be the power and the glory forever. Amen.
Thank you, Bill.